Hi, I'm the Dungeon Master in my Dungeons & Dragons game, and this is a story from that game. Here are the player characters. Franklin, the Turtle Fighter, Argo, the Lizard Folk Druid, and Jim, the Half-Elf Bard. So one day the party is in their home city. They're walking through the streets when, all of a sudden, they hear some shouting nearby. They go to investigate and see a couple people leaving the blacksmith shop in a bit of a huff. This orc blacksmith is a friend of the party's, so they ask what that was about. Vorgak, the blacksmith, tells them that he owes some money to the local crime syndicate, and that they've been getting aggressive about his payments lately. The party has had some dealings with this crime syndicate in the past, so they tell Vorgak that they would try to sort things out for him. They head to where the syndicate's hideout is, in the basement of a tavern, and are granted an audience with the leader, an elf called Pakan Vadim. The party asks Vadim to clear Vorgak's debt. He agrees, but on the condition that the party does a job for him, break into a noble's house and leave a sealed letter on his desk without being detected. After some discussion, the party agrees to do it, since it seems like a simple job. And while they would be breaking the law, it's not like they were being asked to hurt or kill anyone. Is that foreshadowing? While the sun is still out, they decide to scout the location and come up with a plan. It is a 4-story townhouse within the city. There is a wall around it, and there are 2 guards that they can see. One at the front gate, and another on the 3rd floor balcony. They know that the noble is currently out of town, so they wait for nightfall to make their move. A few hours after dark, they begin. Franklin has a magic gauntlet that allows him to use the disguise self spell once per day, so he uses it to disguise himself as a guard named Rob. Franklin, now Rob, approaches the gate guard and tells him that he, Rob, Franklin, has just been assigned to the shift and is taking over. The guard is a bit confused, but a successful deception roll convinces the guard that Rob, Franklin, is legit. The guard hands Franklin the keys and leaves. Meanwhile, Jim and Argo are waiting in a nearby alley. As soon as they see the guard leave, Argo uses his wild shape to turn into a rat and hops in Jim's pocket. Jim then uses the invisibility spell to turn invisible, and then sneaks up to the gate. Franklin, now posing as the gate guard, stealthily hands Invisible Jim the keys so Jim can open the gate just enough to squeeze through before quietly shutting it behind him without alerting the balcony guard. Once inside the courtyard, Invisible Jim and Rat Argo sneak their way into the house. They were told to leave the letter specifically on the noble's desk in the study, but they don't know where that is. Since all the doors are shut, they'll have to guess by trial and error. Rat Argo hops out of Jim's pocket while they search. They decide to creep up to the 2nd floor, and, with a stroke of good luck, manage to find the study with the first door they open. Feeling good, Invisible Jim walks into the study and is immediately attacked by a rug of smothering as soon as he steps on it. Jim backs into the hallway, trying to avoid fighting this thing since they're trying to be quiet, and Argo reverts back to his normal form to flank around the rug. The rug wraps itself around Jim, but he manages to break out of the entanglement after a struggle. This is causing a bit of a commotion. The balcony guard thinks he hears something inside, but before he can investigate, Franklin sneakily throws a rock in the street, temporarily keeping the guard's attention. Back inside, Jim and Argo take turns being strangled by the rug, as they struggle to fight it off. Eventually, though, Jim manages to set the letter on the noble's desk before heading back into the hallway to deal with the rug again. Because of the ongoing kerfuffle, the balcony guard heads inside, mumbling something about a dog. Franklin, seeing the guard head inside, shouts, "Incoming!" as loud as he can to warn Jim and Argo, and begins to run inside. The balcony guard descends from the 3rd floor to the 2nd, intending to deal with what he thinks is the dog, but instead sees the carnage of Jim, Argo, and the rug. Jim and the guard lock eyes in an "oh shit" moment, and then Jim casts prestidigitation to make the guard appear to shit his pants so Jim can try to run past. However, the guard snags Jim as he is running by and tells Argo to surrender or he'll kill Jim. Meanwhile, Franklin is making his way through the 1st floor of the house when he hears a dog starting to bark in a nearby room. He begins to break down the door since the dog might draw unwanted attention from outside, and then makes a tough call to hit the dog in the face, knocking it unconscious. He then heads upstairs just in time to see Jim use the heat metal spell on the guard's helmet. Having his head cooked causes such an immense amount of pain that the guard is immediately knocked unconscious and falls to the floor. The rug begins to attack Jim again, and Argo hears someone shout, "Is everything alright in there?" from outside the house. A few moments later, since no one responds, the outside voice then says, "Okay, we're coming in." Franklin, still disguised as a guard, heads downstairs to deal with whoever this new person is. As he gets to the first floor, he sees 2 guards entering the house. By some type of ironic luck, Jim is suffocated to unconsciousness, so the struggle upstairs temporarily stops, and the house goes quiet. Franklin convinces the guards that a candle got knocked over and that the dog was barking at the noise. The guards believe him, but then Franklin adds that there are some kids nearby making noise, so the guards decide to post up outside the house for a little bit to make sure everything's alright. The guards leave to watch the gate, and Franklin begins to head back upstairs. With Jim momentarily out of the picture, Argo is now forced to fight the rug on his own. Shortly after, however, Franklin reaches the second floor and throws his dagger at the rug, finally putting it out of commission. Now that the danger has subsided, Argo brings Jim back to consciousness as they consider their next move. After some debate, they decide that the currently unconscious guard has to die since he saw their faces. So Jim and Franklin snap his neck while he is still out. They roll him up into the tattered rug so they can dump both of them into an alley somewhere. Jim uses the prestidigitation spell to clean up the guard's pants and helmet to get rid of the shit and burnt flesh smells, and then he wears the dead guard's armor as a disguise. Franklin and Jim, now both disguised as guards, pick up the dead guard covertly rolled into the ruined rug and begin to head outside to dispose of them. Argo uses his wild shape to turn into a rat and follows. Once outside the gate, this is the cover story that they tell the guards. A candle got knocked over and burnt the rug, so the dog started barking from all the noise. Now we have to either get the rug repaired or replaced since the noble is going to be angry when he finds out what happened. After a tense moment of silence, the guards accept the lie and allow the party to go about their business. They find a nice, dark, secluded alley and dump both the dead guard and the rug. They ditch the disguises and head back to the inn they usually stay at. The next day, they return to the crime syndicate's hideout to report their success to Pakan Vadim. As expected, he isn't very happy with the way they handled the job. But a deal is a deal, so he absolves Vorgak of his debt. The party returns to Vorgak to share the good news, and he gives them some free weapons as his way of saying thanks. With all of their troubles behind them, the party then heads off to their next adventure.